Good evening. Welcome to the April 25th regularly scheduled Valley View School Board meeting. I would ask that you rise, turn off your cell phones, or at least put them on mute, and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Member Baduras. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board affirmation statement will be done by Member Perro.
Our mission is to empower every learner to be college, career, and life ready, and to develop, grow, and achieve as a productive citizen.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda, Ms. Kinder.
Yes, sir. We'd like to ask the board to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Before we do any further business, the guy sitting next to me on my right is the proud grandfather of his first grandchild, first son. 4 o'clock this afternoon?
4:37.
4:37. Congratulations, Mr. Zach.
Thank you.
He doesn't seem old enough to have kids that age, but I guess he does. So, and everybody's fine and healthy and happy and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, they are.
Good. That's what we like. Speaking of the microphone so people can hear. So
Yes.
yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
There you go. You want to say the child's name? So for the record, he's already been on TV.
Okay, for the record, Gael Cardanius Zach, baby boy, 21 inches, 7 pounds, 4 ounces.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Student staff recognition video.
Yes, this is one of our favorite sections where we get to highlight our amazing student, staff, and community. And tonight we are spotlighting Mrs. Laura West, 5th grade teacher from Pioneer Elementary School, who's celebrating her 25th year in education. She let Mr. Blaney come and spend some time in our classroom, so we have an awesome spotlight this evening to share with you, and a visit with Mrs. West.
You're going to get some shapes, and you're going to measure their length, width, and height, and then tell me the volume. A higher activity to this is they're going to give you the volume, and you've got to tell me one of those dimensions.
My goal always as their 5th grade teacher is to make them more responsible and more independent. You know, leaving elementary school where you've been at for 6 years is a huge jump for them. And I always tell them this is the school that you will spend the most time in your life in elementary school. versus middle school 3 years, high school 4 years, college 4 years. You will spend most of your educational time here. And getting ready for that next step is so important. Building independence, building responsibility, advocating for themselves. Those are things that I feel like I tell them in 5th grade, I'm spoon feeding you. And then eventually you've got to figure it out on your own. I say, pull out your assignment notebooks, let's write this down. And then eventually you need to do that on your own. You need to be, you're the person in charge.
You went back to a teacher who inspired you and you let them know that they had an influence on your life. Have you ever had the opposite happen to where a former student of yours has come up to you and said, you inspired me?
I have a scrapbook I keep of all my kids, of our school pictures and personal notes or things that they gave me or that remind me of them when they were in my classroom, and they like coming back and seeing them. Or sometimes I'll snap a picture and send it to them, do you remember when you were this little? So it makes me proud to see those kind of things. And it makes me feel good knowing that they remember that I was their teacher or that they had good experiences or good memories here at Pioneer. Not necessarily what I taught them, but the experience of being in our classroom.
Yet on the other hand, when those moments happen, do you think, oh my goodness, where have all these years gone?
Oh my gosh, one of my former students she's married and she's having her first child, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And 2 years ago, I had a former student's son, and that really hit home. She came to conferences and I was like, oh my gosh. And I pulled out the yearbook and I was like, do you remember when you were in 4th grade here? I'm like, your son is just like you. When it comes full circle like that, it is awesome. And especially in this district, to see that people stay in the community and that their children are coming to our school now is heartwarming. I love it.
This is your 25th year teaching in the classroom. What's the biggest change that's been made in meeting the social and emotional needs of students?
We see more of a community here. So we didn't talk about our feelings or building community as much as we do now in the last 10 years. Really getting to know our class and getting to know our kids and sharing those personal things to make them feel safe here, to make them feel that they are as much a part of it as we are. So that's changed. At the beginning, when I first started taughting, it's teacher, student. Sage on stage, you listen and take notes. And now it's more, kids are responsible for their learning. I'm kind of the facilitator of what goes on in here.
You can write this as a decimal. This is for module 4, no? No. What am I gonna times these by? Yes, 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 yes.
What are some of the adjustments your students make for you because of your physical limitations?
If you look around my classroom, we're in straight rows because of COVID, but we're also in one of the bigger classrooms. So they have to make sure nothing's on the floor that I can get around to. They have to understand that, sometimes I drop stuff and I'm picking it up or I'm asking them to pick it up, and I walk around with these big little man claws to pick up things off of the floor. I always tell them that, I do have some limitations. So sometimes when I want to pull the map down, they're the ones pulling the map down, or they're getting a supply that I can't reach to. But, or they're holding open a door. I feel like they figure it out on their own, and they're also very empathetic. So if they see something I'm struggling with, or they know I'm having a hard time with, or they'll ask me questions sometimes. But I think the adaptability kind of just comes naturally. I'm really honest about my disability, and I talk to them about it early on in the beginning of the school year. And I feel like that answers a lot of questions or makes them feel more comfortable. And they've seen me in the building since they've been in kindergarten, so they know that I'm a teacher here. They know that I can do pretty much everything else that another teacher can. I think the limitations we talk about sometimes when we go to recess, I can't go on wood chips, so I can't play like I used to, or that kind of things. And sometimes I have a walkie-talkie with me to make sure that if something were to happen and I need an adult outside, that I have it there. But I feel like my kids are just naturally, they pick up on instinct. And so I don't know if they see me as much in the wheelchair as much as maybe I think they do.
Thank you, Mrs. West. We're so proud to spotlight our amazing educators and our amazing students. Tonight, we also have a special recognition. I'd like to invite our BJ Ward LMC Director, Mrs. Katie Thomas, up to the podium. And she is joined by an army of fellow LMC directors, and I'm going to have them all come up so you can all see them and recognize them. In honor of National Library Month celebration. These individuals are a strong force of innovative, dedicated educators. Come on up, Mr. Paxton. We consider you a friend amongst the LMC directors, don't we, guys? And Mrs. Thomas is going to share some highlights with you tonight. So we thank you all for being here.
Good evening. April is School Library Month. Tonight, our Valley View Library directors are excited to share some of the astounding things that have been happening in our school libraries over the past 2 years. Like every other facet of the education world, pandemic adaptiveness became a new reality for us overnight. Never ones to step down from a challenge, the Valley View teacher librarians met the obstacles head on. We've hosted drive-through book giveaways, offered home delivery of books that rivaled DoorDash, hosted Zoom story times that entertained all ages, and provided so much technology support that I still personally occasionally wake up saying, "You're on mute." Our creativity and tenacity resulted in new and exciting initiatives for our VVSD community of readers. From partnering with our public libraries, Fountaindale and White Oak, to create student success cards, more commonly known as public library cards, to building a more robust digital library collection that is accessible 24/7 and from anywhere in the world. We tried to live the VVSD motto of every reader, every day, to the fullest. We've created a short video with the help of some of our favorite customers to highlight some of the magical moments in our libraries and hope you will join us in celebrating the power of school libraries. We thank everyone for their time and for supporting our Valley View libraries. And in addition to loving books, we also love swag. So we've brought some delightful library pins and other things for you to celebrate our Valley View libraries. Thank you.
Could we please have the librarians announce themselves and their name and what building they're in, please? So we know them a little better?
I love that idea. Yeah, come back up.
Yeah, not just stand there. They came out tonight and gave their time up.
I'm Lisa Arnold from Jonasoc.
Stephanie Brunetti, Romeoville High School.
Heather Hernandez from Independence. Cheryl Chambers, RC Hill.
Jessica Blazejack from Avito Martinez Middle School.
Gina Ansel from Jamie McGee.
Sharon Peterson from Oakville Elementary.
Michelle Philippides from Irene King.
Dal Bristow from Pioneer.
Felix Soto, John R. Tibbet.
Michael Pacton of the Administration Center.
Thank you all once again.
No, the other girl.
And Mr. Blaney, thank you for the
We
videos.
also-
I don't know how many of those you've done, but if nothing else, we have snappy music.
Yeah.
We also want to acknowledge Ms. Jen Pizzuto from BHS and Mr. Alan Holtz from Brooks Middle School. Yes. Thank you guys so much. You are an awesome team, and we appreciate all you do. Thank you for sharing that awesome video. So, and you don't have to stay for the rest of the agenda, but you're more than welcome to if you'd like to. Have a great evening.
While I'm mentioning, well, that video and the ones that Jim does every week or every other week, and countless other ones he does, there was a phone call that went out this morning, apparently about, I've lost my mind. Oh, the survey, parent survey. Jim forgot to hit PM instead of AM, or something happened, and that is what happened. But I texted Ms. Kinder this morning, and I said, okay, if that's the worst thing that happens to us in a school week, I'll take that every week. An hour later, I found out we had a building on fire. So, you take the good with the bad. Fortunately, the fire was handled very quickly by the Romeoville folks and the internal folks, and no one was hurt, and it was a kitchen fire, correct?
It was a small
Bolingbrook fire.
Small fire in a convection oven in a kitchen at Tibbet Elementary School, but no one was harmed, and it was quickly put out. Amazing staff response, the maintenance crew, the nutrition services, and the principal and the entire team, student staff, did everything they were supposed to do, and the fire department from Bolingbrook and police department supported and complimented the staff and students for such an incredible job. So kudos to all of them, and everyone is safe. And the kitchen has been inspected, and it's ready to go for tomorrow. The health department gave us the all clear, so we will be serving breakfast. So come hungry, Tibbet kids.
Again, but that's the kind of things that you deal with on a daily basis. You never know what's going to happen from day to day. Probably 10 years ago, Gary, we were sitting, I was at my house at 3 in the morning, and why I was up, I have no earthly idea, but Gary called my house and said, we have to close the schools because there's been a pipeline leak. And I went, what? He said, it's by where the bus barn is, and we can't get the buses out. Well, we found a way to get the buses out, and we said, okay, so we're going to run school today. It was a blue sky day. It was beautiful. It was in October, I think. And the next thing you know, I'm on my way to work or at work, and I get a phone call. We're evacuating RC Hill. And I said, what? Because we have a bomb threat. Well, turns out it wasn't a bomb threat, but the US EPA had put some air detector qualifying devices around the building, and somebody mistook it, and they didn't tell anybody, and it was mistaken for some kind of a device. And again, so you take the good with the bad. If a phone call at 5:30, which I'm sure was an inconvenience for folks, we apologize for that. If that's the worst thing that happened to us today, we're in great shape, and that's all I just kind of want to comment on that. And Jim, thanks for these videos you do. It's wonderful. People need to see what we do every day and highlight our teachers and our staff and the community. It's really good stuff. So, and you don't get enough credit for that, so appreciate that. Moving down the agenda, we are at consent agenda items. Ms. Kinder.
Yes, sir. We have 4 items under consent that we are seeking the board's approval on this evening. 6.1, board meeting minutes, April 11th, 2022. 6.2, executive session meeting minutes, April 11th, 2022. 6.3, Easter Seals contract, and 6.4, gift to Romeoville High School.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Board liaison reports. Any and all from my left? Any and all from my right?
Yes, I have a few announcements. They come from Wilco Career Center. So the first one is the Wilco Area Career Center Scholarship winners, which from Romeoville, it's the Jessica C. Chief for CNA, and Bolingbrook High School was Isaiah Patel for medical assistant. Then we have the Wilco Area Career Center Student of the Year nominations 2022. We have a handful from both of our high schools. We have Martin Secheski from Business Logistics from Romeoville, Jessica Sichi, Certified Nurse Assistant from Romeoville, Haley Witcher, Certified Nurse Assistant from Romeoville, Brittany Vera Galando, a Computer Technology from Romeoville, Emilio Perando Sanchez, Culinary from Bolingbrook, Lauren Hydrilica, Early Childhood Education from Bolingbrook, Kaylee Casper, Early Childhood Education from Romeoville, Joshua Sidell, Game Design, which is a pretty cool class, from Bolingbrook, Sarah Hernandez, Criminal Justice from Romeoville, Danielle Vadad, Intro to Health from Bolingbrook, and Arden Uglana Rivera, a Veteran Assistant from Romeoville. Then the kids also had the Wilco Area Career National Technology Honor Society, and we have Michelle Amoon, Criminal Justice from Romeoville, Caitlin Barber, Intro to Health from Bolingbrook, Milana Castro, Criminal Justice from Romeoville, Dion Collins, Culinary from Romeoville, Jacina Garcia, Early Childhood from Bolingbrook, Melanie Hedmark, Intro to Health from Romeoville, Lauren Hydreka, Early Childhood from Bolingbrook, Kaylee Casper, Early Childhood from Romeoville, Arlena Rosa, Intro to Health from Romeoville High School, Jessica Tellis, CNA from Bolingbrook, Jeremiah Tidora, CNA from Romeoville, Brittany Vera Galando, Computer Technology from Romeoville, Daniel Lewis Vidad, Intro to Health from Bolingbrook, and Jasmine Williams Houseworth, CNA from Romeoville. Those are the kids that attend Wilco, and just like to take the time to acknowledge them for what they do. Thank you.
If you recall at the last meeting, I brought up that the Illinois General Assembly had passed a budget. I have some notes that I've created over the last week and a half of what's in the budget, because the whole budget package is over 3,500 pages. So I'm just going to really kind of quickly go through a couple of highlights. The Illinois state budget is $46.5 billion, which is up a couple of billion from the 2022 budget. About $1 billion of that is carryover from the last budget. In the educational world, what we care about is, and they also have a thing they call the BIMP bills, the budget implementation. You have the budget side, revenues, and spending authority. But in the education side, K through 12 education for 2023, K through 12 will include $9.8 billion in general revenue funds, a record rate $7.9 billion in formula-based funding to school districts, which reflects an increase of $300 million for the EBF and an additional $50 million in property tax grant reliefs. Early childhood education will be funded at $598 million, an increase of $54.9 1.4, and some more additional mandated categorical reimbursements. Also in this budget, there's a $57 million, Gary, I forget the number, $57 million that was overpaid to the city of Chicago public schools that was supposed to go to other downstate schools. We do not think we're going to get much, 87 million. We don't think we're going to get much out of that, if anything, but they are going to correct that. Also, the state of Illinois created a $1 billion rainy day fund, which is considerably more than what they ever had, at least in the last 10 years. So hopefully, with all these changes that they've had, they're also offering some tax relief, some property tax relief, motor fuel tax suspension, grocery tax suspension. They're having a school holiday for purchasing of supplies in August, right before school starts, so you won't have to pay sales tax on clothing items, school-related items for children, and, well, I guess pretty much anybody. I don't know how they're going to determine who's what. They're also doing a suspension of the grocery tax, which is 1%, and they set aside $400 million in that for state dollars to replace loss of money to local governments who get the 1% sales tax on groceries. A lot of changes in the budget this year, but it's in all it's not a bad budget. I just wanted to let you know the difference in the educational thing. So hopefully we'll have a few extra dollars coming in from the state. I will continue to say this: the state of Illinois, although they're making changes and they're getting there, the state of Illinois does not fund education to the level that it should, and that is the reason that our property taxes are the way they are. We will try always to strive to maintain that balance, but we also know that we have to provide quality schools, quality, everything that the best of our abilities. We also recognize up here that not everybody has children in schools. Probably about 40% of our tax-paying base does. The rest does not, but we're aware of that. So we try to do the best we can, and we are, I think, as good as stewards of the people's dollars as we can be. And with Gary's departure and his replacement coming on, we will continue in that realm, and hopefully you all feel the same out there. Moving down the agenda, audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board this evening? Seeing none, hearing none. Moving down the agenda. Board policies. Ms. Kinder.
Yes, action report 9.1 is seeking the board's approval on 11 policies that were presented for your review at the last meeting. This is done in accordance with our standard process with legal review, updates to school code, federal law, and the recommendations from the Illinois Association of School Board Press Policy.
So moved.
Second. Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
Thank you. Action report 9.2 is student due process case A as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Member Badouris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Next up, action report number 10, fleet copier purchase, the 5-year maintenance contract of your copy machines.
We had brought an information report to you at the previous meeting. This meeting, we're asking your approval to purchase, excuse me, 33 replacement copiers that are approaching 8 years old. They were first deployed in our buildings back in 2014. We had very good success with the Konica Minolta brand, and therefore that's what we were seeking to replace the outgoing copiers with. We received 3 proposals. I examined those and looking to award it to the lowest cost per print and purchase cost of $175,675 to Konica Minolta out of Lisle. We will gain 3 additional copiers over the last fleet refresh and pay almost $69,000 less over the course of the 5-year term. In addition, we'll also save $30,000 in impression costs over that 5-year term. So again, a very good outcome for this solicitation, if you will. We did have the attorney review the contract for this purchase, and so we are again recommending award of the purchase of 33 copiers along with a 5-year maintenance agreement to Konica Minolta of Lisle as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Mr. Gazafi.
Second action report coming out of our print shop is looking to replace a latex printer with a flatbed printing system. This new printing methodology will allow the following services for directly for our district: printing directly on gator board and Corio, which is the kind of the yard sign material that most are familiar with. Printing directly on plastic sheets, which includes plexiglass. You may be aware we've got a lot of plexiglass within the district that was used for barriers during our COVID lockdowns and return to school. And we'd like to make use of that in some way, shape, or form. Also directly printing on plywood products up to 2 inches thick, as well as a variety of materials like banners, magnets, badges, stickers, and award plates. We sought proposals and received quotations from 3 different vendors. Pricing includes all shipping, installation, and training. We asked our attorneys to review this purchase as well, and at this time we are recommending approval of the purchase of a Mimaki flatbed printer from KW Graphics in Aurora in the amount of $71,015.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? We have motions. You got some motion second? I have one question. I know we do a lot of these, but how much poster board stuff do we do? A lot? I mean, it seems like.
If you have not taken the opportunity to spend 1 hour or better at our print shop, I encourage anyone to do so. The amount of materials and things that they produce on behalf of students and our buildings is unbelievable. He's doing garments. The team over there is doing garments, everything from hats to shirts to aprons to coats. For our nutrition team, our transportation team, our security team, our facilities team. All that stuff that used to be outsourced is now back in-house. A lot of the wall wraps that you would see that would go on an entire wall of, say, a classroom or a learning lab, that's what this type of equipment will allow us to do. And so I can't say enough about Keith Lacomiak, our director of printing, as well as the team at the print shop in terms of taking us to the next level and beyond. It's unbelievable.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote would be in order.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Computers.
Just one additional comment on that. Not only is he doing all those things, but they're doing them at a cost that's just much, much less than what we would pay if we were outsourcing it. So while we make the investment in the equipment, he takes the time to make sure the staff is trained, and again, the cost effectiveness is just tremendous. So again, thanks, Keith. Yeah, computing device refresh. We brought an information report at our last meeting for the FY23 computing device refresh, as we do annually. This refresh includes student laptop replacements, a student tablet pilot, staff Chromebooks and assessment devices, as well as staff laptop replacement. In summary, we've got 125 high school laptops going into the labs at Bolingbrook High School. We're doing an early childhood and kindergarten student tablet device refresh, as well as educator tablets for EC and kindergarten to go along with that. We're doing educator assessment devices at early childhood to allow the staff there to better assess staff and services. We've got building leader Chromebooks, 70 of those, and then the biggest component of the refresh is the staff laptops, 851 units. Total device refresh, almost 1,218 devices. Supply chain issues continue to be a concern of ours. We continue to meet with our vendors to secure definitive timeframes for delivery dates. And so, again, we're kind of at the will and mercy of what's happening with the supply chain out in the world today. These 1,218 devices are estimated to cost $1,539,000. We're seeking approval to proceed with the purchases as noted, with a cost not to exceed that amount. And these devices would, or these costs would be covered by our technology annual lease. What we do is we take this amount and roll it into a 4-year tech lease, as we do every year. And so what's nice is we have a payment that falls off, and this kind of backfills that falling off. So we don't necessarily increase our cost year over year. We've been doing this for 9 years now, and with the new lease, it would be our 10th year, allowing us to bring a large amount of gear for all of our students and staff, as well as our classrooms, and keep those costs relatively affordable, if you will, by using a lease. The next information report also will make use of a lease. So again, at this time, seeking approval of device purchase summary as noted, with a cost not to exceed $1,539,000, with cost covered by a technology department annual lease.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion?
I have something I'd like to bring up. I know that the audience many times thinks that the board never asks a question about any of this, but what we do is we ask before we come. And one of the things I asked, now I'm only going to think of her first name, Astrid, is why we have computer labs when every child has a one-on-one device? And Astrid, could you explain to us why that is? Because I think the public would like to know that, you know, every child has a device. Why do we need computer labs still? And I think that was a big question of mine.
Ms. Welcher's on her way down.
Yes, she is.
Thank you for your question, Secretary Sikora. As I mentioned in my email to you, we have curriculum that is delivered through Windows devices at our high schools, and so our career and technical education delivery of curriculum needs to be on a Windows laptop, and that's why we have those high school labs. We also have our great MIDI labs where our music education happens at the high schools, and so we have some really high-end equipment there to support that curriculum. So, thank you.
I knew she'd have an answer. We have a motion, we have a second. If there's no further discussion, we are spending money. A roll call vote would be in order.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Moving down the agenda, Gary, the support mechanism for those computers.
Real quick comment. Deb, I really appreciate you calling out the fact that you do send the questions in advance. And, you know, to a person on this board, we very much appreciate having those questions in advance rather than at the table. And oftentimes, you know, something, as you read it for the second or third time, you say, oh, I do have a question about that. And we're certainly open to that, but we do very much appreciate the questions in advance. And so if you can keep doing that, we'd much appreciate that. So, yeah, these infrastructure and networking upgrade utilizing school library E-rate program. We brought this as an information report as well at the prior meeting. This is utilization of that E-rate funding, federal funding under the E-rate program for replacement of our firewalls, a very important component of our network infrastructure, as well as UPSs or uninterruptible power supplies to make sure our equipment can continue to operate and be shut down in the event of a power failure. Also, disaster recovery services and archives, as well as system and maintenance contracts for our system infrastructure equipment. These would be for the towers that you see at all of our buildings, which is our backup infrastructure and interconnectivity should the new fiber connections fail. And so that's the first component of this upgrade. Also, the middle school classroom technology upgrades. Those classrooms last saw the smart boards installed in the 2013-2014 school year. So they're approaching 8 to 9 years old. Certainly have reached the end of, or approaching the end of their useful life. And so the need is there to replace those. We did a pilot last year And so based on the feedback from our educators regarding the pilot, we're proceeding with an interactive projector, 257 of those, as well as a sound bar to go along with the projector. We've got some classroom whiteboards and screens that will replace about 38% of the whiteboards that are currently there that are either in need of replacement or to put one up where there maybe wasn't one previously. Lastly, we've got the early childhood and elementary school classroom technology upgrade pilot. So this would be in keeping with the pilot that we did at the high school first before we proceeded with the purchase, and what we also did with the middle school, as I just outlined. And so we've got, for this pilot, we've got 3 different technologies that we'd like to put through its paces, if you will. First is an interactive smart whiteboard. Second is an interactive projector, similar to what we're doing at the middle schools. And lastly is a smart wireless internet-capable television. So we've got 15 of the smart whiteboards, 10 of the projectors, and 5 of the smart TVs. And again, let them be put through their paces to determine what the best solution is for use at our middle, our early childhood and elementary schools. In summary, we're asking for approval of utilizing the E-rate and state grant funds to maintain no-cost internet bandwidth, fiber connectivity between buildings, and replacement of aging network equipment, as well as maintaining backup and system redundancy services. The district's share of the cost of those initiatives is $337,294. When you factor in the middle school upgrades, that's $690,000, and then the pilot for the elementary and early childhood, another $83,000. The total recommendation is approving a district share of all of these initiatives of $1,110,882, also to be incorporated into the technology department's annual lease.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
And President Quigley?
Yes. Next up, EV bus lease, which really isn't what it is, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Dave, you want to come on down, or no, you think this is not a big deal? I might have a question.
Back in February, while Dave's making his way down here, we brought a lease for the expiring 15 school buses that are expiring on June 30th. At that time, we brought forward a lease agreement for 14 buses that you approved again on February 28th. Dave has been negotiating with Midwest Transit, who's been our supplier of buses for as long as I can recall, for one model year 2017 IC electric bus utilizing C-electric powertrain technology to complete the replacement of our vehicles that are expiring off lease. And so with that, I think I'll let Dave say a few words.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
We have motion and seconded. Go ahead, Dave, because I do have a couple questions. I'm just
No problem.
more commenting than questioning, but.
What we're doing in this case is we're finding an inexpensive way to get into the electric bus market. Excuse me. So what this is a repurposed bus. It's an international bus, same model as we've always used with C-electric powertrain. So it's a completely electric vehicle, ready for use like any other electric vehicle you'd buy, a Tesla, whatever the case may be, at half the price of a normal electric bus.
So with all of the, there's all the major manufacturers are trending towards electric vehicles. You're going to see this trend for the next 20 years, and maybe we end up in that space completely. I'm a little skeptical on it, but it's going that way. There are going to be subsidies. There are lots of companies out there getting into this business. In fact, in Will County, Lion is going to be building buses, if they're not already, in Joliet. We have a big fleet, 200 buses, more or less.
193, yeah. Most of those are diesel buses. You would never go to a full electric fleet. The couple of the comments I've heard, even from the people trying to sell me buses, is for us to convert to an electric fleet would require about $4 million in upgrades from ComEd, just so we had enough power to even try and run them. we would basically need a small generating station to recharge the buses overnight. So it's never going to happen, and I agree with you, President Quigley. I don't know if this is the long-term answer or not. So with the ability to go to green technology, which the district has been a big proponent of over the years, and if we can get into that market on a 5-year lease for half price, it just seems like the perfect way to enter into that market and see where we go, with the opportunity then to expand or not based on what we find.
And this is the kind of stuff that I think everybody else up here appreciates you guys bringing this kind of stuff forward to us so we can see what it is. We are a district that's big. Other districts follow our lead on certain things, and this probably will be one of those things. And the infrastructure needs are very great, as we've discussed and you just pointed out. And there's some alternatives maybe to that. So in the summer times, perhaps we can do something different with some of those buses, and we've discussed that. But we're going to go out to the market and see what's out there. This is pretty new stuff, even though it's not. It is when you talk about on a scale like they're talking about. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm really appreciative of you and your leadership over there, transportation folks, trying to get us where, let's just see what this all can do. And if we can save some money, when he brought this to my attention, I said, this is like the coolest thing we've done in this space maybe that I've heard of. I mean, everybody wants to run out and just buy a bus, but what about these leases we have? What about these units we have? They're not certainly worn out, but if we can retrofit one for under 40 grand and plus a couple power outlets, why not? Let's see where it takes us. So thanks for that.
Not a problem. I will also comment on Lion. A lot of people like to buy local, stay in the area. Lion Electric will be building electric buses. They are not as of yet.
Right.
They held an open house and had a big press event. They are nowhere near ready to start producing anything. Their plant isn't even built yet. So that's a little ways away before we could potentially buy local. And there are some other districts following our lead already, to your comment, that are looking into now the same buses we're looking to buy now.
Fantastic. Keep us informed, please.
Definitely.
Dave, quick question for you.
Yeah.
Just for clarity, these buses were converted, correct?
Pardon me?
These buses were converted from traditional diesel?
Right.
Okay,
They were a traditional diesel bus that has been gutted of drivetrain, engine, transmission, all those drivetrain components, and outfitted with electric motors and battery packs. Actually, Superintendent Kinder and Assistant Superintendent Grisafi and Mr. Zach came by when we had one over at the shop one day and took a ride on it. It's interesting technology. It looks nothing like a traditional bus anymore. And when you do go for a ride in it, it's interesting that you can sit there and have a conversation without having to raise your voice on a school bus, which I think the drivers will like because they'll hear everything a student is saying. At the same time, they probably don't want to hear everything a student is saying. But it's interesting. Another question that came up, just to give you a little more background, is people ask about how can we go on a field trip? How can we go to Champaign with the football team? The answer is we can't.
Right.
These are not designed for that. But around town, they'll be perfect because of the regenerative braking, the way the system regenerates battery power as you let off the accelerator pedal. When we were going around the industrial park that we're located in, our range actually grew while we were driving because of the way the driver reacted with the accelerator pedal. So they're very efficient.
Coasting is a good thing.
That is something.
Actually, it doesn't coast, it slows down.
Okay.
They predict that we will never replace the brake pads on this in 5 years because the regenerative system will slow the bus down on its own.
Yeah, that is becoming something that's probably going to be an entirely new industry in the automotive for cars as well.
Yeah.
And also so everyone is clear, Midwest is going to be the one that's going to be warrantying this, not the conversion company, correct?
The conversion company will take care of the electric powertrain components.
But through Midwest, though, right?
Yes, yes. Oh no, Midwest is still our dealer. That's still providing the bus. Yeah, they're the ones that we're dealing with. Now I will tell you though that the engineers actually the other day they brought the bus out and the engineering staff from the plant, which is in Iowa by the way, got on Zoom with our mechanics and went through the bus and they answered 2 hours worth of questions from our mechanics on how the different systems operate, how they interface with the international systems. So they spent a very, very long time looking this over.
Any other questions?
I just want to comment on the vetting, our leadership, this is how it works in Valley View, but our leadership and our teams all the way through the department were so deeply involved in this vetting. I saw mechanics under the buses, Mr. Richards, Mr. Zach. I mean, and the questions that our mechanics were asking, I mean, they really do their research. So you can rest assured that this was very fully vetted, and we have amazing teams that make sure we're making good choices.
Thank you.
As long as the bus wheels go round and round, Dave, that's all that counts.
Exactly.
All right, thanks. We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
And President Quigley?
Yep.
Finally, this evening is a recommendation for a new playground equipment replacement at Kenneth R. L. Hermanson Elementary. Back in September, we brought forward an action report to apply for a school maintenance grant through the Illinois State Board of Education for $50,000 to help offset the cost of the playground at KLH. Happy to report that that grant was approved earlier this year. The playground currently there is 20 years old and has been identified as a high priority for replacement based on its age and wear. The work would include replacement of a swing set, large slide structure, and climbing structure. In addition to that, there's also a particular need to add playground equipment that supports the district's autism program at KLH, commonly known as Stellar. Currently, KLH does not have any inclusive outside space that is a safe place, safe play area that's specialized for that need. We've attached an exhibit and a proposal from Landscape Structures to provide material and labor to install the playground equipment and the soft play surface in the total amount of $349,002. The scope of that work includes replacing the substandard equipment at the existing playground with new equipment, replacing mulch at the existing playground with a new soft play surface material, as well as expanding the playground footprint to allow the new and expanded play area, along with providing a new poured-in play soft surfacing area. Landscape Structures is a supplier of equipment that the district has used in the past, including playgrounds at Early Childhood, Independence, and Woodview. They've been able to secure competitive bid pricing through a national cooperative purchasing program named Sourcewell. We have worked closely with the school administration in arriving at the optical equipment and layout for the school's needs for the project. Excuse me. The playground equipment selection and configuration is based on their input and final selection. The project would be funded through the annual operations and maintenance budget for FY23, with the $50,000 grant used as an offset, bringing total cost of $299,002. In addition, the Hermanson PTO is indicated they'd like to raise funds to help contribute for the expense of this playground project cost. The work is intended to commence this summer with the completion before the start of the school year. With that, we are asking for approval of a contract with Landscape Structures for a playground equipment replacement at Kenneth L. Hermanson in the amount of $349,002, pending attorney review and approval of the contract.
Second. Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yep. What do we got? Human Resources Action Report number 11.
11.1 Action Report, Consolidated Action Report seeking approval for all items as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yep. Next.
11.2 Action Report for proposed job description presented for review last board meeting, seeking your approval for those items presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Superintendent Information Report.
Yes, just a few brief updates this evening. and display the slides.
There's a pretty good chance that your interview will be over. Quick Trip hires for culture. If we feel we're a good fit, we can train for the rest.
We're getting audio.
Peter Drucker.
Okay. Well, it's very brief. We'll do this without slides. So some of the celebrations, we were just highlighting some of our awesome outdoor breath of fresh air activities that have been going on. Our KLH Color Run, Woodview had an awesome outdoor multicultural fair, and then of course all of the great activities and athletics that are going on across the entire district. So great to be outside, hoping for a little bit of a warm up here soon. I did want to make brief mention on the COVID metrics that these are available online. We have seen a little bit of an uptick. It's pretty evenly spread across our buildings amongst students and staff in a small number of cases, relatively speaking. Since the last board meeting in just a 2-week time frame, we had 67 reported cases. There are currently 17 staff cases that have been reported and 17 student cases that have been reported. So obviously, not a cause for concern in any particular area, but I just want to stress the importance of monitoring your symptoms, monitoring your child's symptoms, keeping ill children home, staying home if you are ill yourself. We have 5 weeks left of school, and of course we want everyone to be healthy and well, and so that's the best way to minimize any risk at school. So please continue to be diligent. Even though it has been off our radar in some respects, there is still the need to be diligent. The good old panorama survey, please just take a few minutes to give us your feedback. Students will be taking the survey as well as staff. For families, it's a few short multiple choice questions, and then there is a free response option on improving school connection and involvement. And of course, we will be evolving our surveying effort, but this helps us to gauge this from our last administration. So please take a few moments to take the panorama survey. We'll be bringing forward information in May and June regarding the Portrait of a Learner and Strategic Planning update. So we'll have some really interesting and exciting information to be sharing with the board and the community very soon. And of course, our end of year rush is underway with 5 weeks left to go. There's a key dates listed on the screen with high school graduations, middle school promotions, and of course our last day on Friday, May 27th. So we're looking forward to a strong finish with students and staff, and a strong finish to wrap up the school year. So that's it.
Thank you. Legal Services Report.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Moving down the agenda, association reports. AFT report. Thank you. Valley View Council. Thank you. Valley View Office Personnel Council. No report. Any old business before the board this evening? Hearing none, seeing none. Any new business before the board this evening? Same as before. Freedom of Information Act requests will be filed with Mr. Blaney and available on our website. Correct, sir? I like to nod. Thank you very much. Any announcements by the board? Any and all from my right? Any and all from my left? I have none. Any announcements by the administration? Seeing none, moving down the agenda. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Have a safe evening. And as Ms. Kinder said, at some point it has to warm up, right? So thank you all.